I thought I was successful in getting him to sleep because I myself fell asleep on the bed with him. At about 9 o'clock, I went and checked on him, and he wasn't breathing.
How do you get up from a grief so crippling? How do you get from intense heartbreak to steady healing? And how do you talk to a mother who lost a son a year after he was born? Today, in an astounding show of bravery, Jena joins me to talk about what is perhaps her most painful experience of being a mother: losing her son Noah a year after he was born. Hello, Jena.
Hi, Rob.
How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me today.
Pleasure is mine.
And this must be very hard for you to do. So let me start by commending you on your bravery and agreeing to talk to me, okay? This is a very brave thing for you to do.
Yes. Just be prepared for whatever is going to happen.
That's okay. That's okay. So I want to start by telling us what life was like, or what is what happened when you found out that you were pregnant with Noah.
Well, the pregnancy with Noah wasn't always planned.
Mhm.
Actually, he was not in the sort of family picture. I already had a son at that time.
That's Nathan, right?
That's Nathan, my eldest at the moment. He was 6. And he came up to me and asked if I can buy him a brother or a sister from Tesco.
Okay.
And then prior to that, the decision of not having any more children was because Nathan was born with a heart problem himself.
Okay.
So at 1, or just before the age of 1, he had to undergo a big cardiac surgery.
This is Nathan.
This is
Okay.
Nathan.
Your eldest. Okay.
So never mind the trauma of his birth, a near death experience for me. It was the trauma of a young mom, first time mom, and now having to face a very big surgery, so uncertain for me at that time, whether he's going to survive it or, what his future was going to be. But he did really well. And now at 6 years old, he was asking his mom for a brother or a sister.
Okay.
It was a big ask because I have, at that time, me and my husband have made up our minds that considering what we've gone through with Nathan, we weren't going to have any more.
Another one.
And but looking at him as a child growing up alone in a different country with just me and my husband as his relatives, basically his family, it was gonna be very lonely if he's gonna be all alone all his life. So that triggered the planning for Noah.
And then you had Noah.
Then we had Noah. Yes.
So tell the audience about him and the year that you had with him, your most cherished memory of Noah.
Most cherished 384 days, like
384 days.
Yes. So he was the most awaited second son and baby brother. Basically, when we were trying for him, was testing nearly every day to sort of, know if when he's gonna come, and with the little one who was pestering, basically asking when is this, brother gonna come or sister gonna come. Had him. It was a joyous time, obviously, like for any other family or any other parent having a child. It was a joyous time, and because of the long wait and that length of time that we held off having another one. It made you realize, just seeing them two together as brothers playing and, bonding, um, made me realize that it was the right thing to do. Oh, how is it that I was thinking I deprive my son of the company of a sibling, or myself the another chance of nurturing and um, having another child, basically, to have not just the one son. So, yeah, good times, 384 days.
384 days. So on day 384, what happened that night?
That night, um, we were both sick. I
Your
was sick
husband, your
myself.
husband, you and Noah were
Me
sick.
and Noah. So basically, I came off my usual 3 nights and noticed he had spots on some parts of his body, and he said, "Oh, I think he's coming down with chickenpox." That was Thursday. Um, and then Friday, obviously, he was still unwell of chickenpox. Saturday, he was still unwell of chickenpox. And bear in mind, we live across the
The
hospital.
hospital.
And so my husband and I said to each other, if he's still not that, it's not well by Monday, we're going to have to take him to the GP, because that'll be what, day 4 or 5. Um, and like I said, I myself was unwell with a fever at that time. Um, we, me and Noah, we went to this spare room that we had, and my husband and my son was downstairs doing homework around about 8 o'clock at night, and was trying to get him to sleep, because obviously he was very fussy. He was not feeling well. Um, I thought I was successful in getting him to sleep, because I myself fell asleep on the bed with him. At about 9 o'clock, I went and checked on him, and he wasn't breathing.
9 p.m.
Yeah, so I woke up, put my hand on him just to check temperature, or as I normally do with my babies. I make sure, is he still there, or has he rolled over? He was one. He was able to do a lot of um stuff like climbing down the bed, or getting up, because he was getting a bit more mobile at that time, at that age. And I noticed that he wasn't breathing, and my first reaction was to shout for help from my husband, who was downstairs. And I looked at him, and I sort of knew then that he was gone. He was gone. Um, we called. We live across the hospital. I called 911. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. Um, my husband came downstairs. I think did a CPR on him, and I was on the phone, and eventually I decided that my husband had to run him across, literally, to A&E. And so he did that, and then we followed thereafter. But during that time, I knew, and my thoughts were, if he's gonna go, I was asking God that if he's gone, then just for him to be um, gone, and not leave him with any disability. And I didn't want him to suffer. That was my first thought at that time. Mm.
Wow. Okay.
It was very hard. A lot of things was obviously running through my mind, and you know, Nathan, he was with me, and at age 6, 7, I I sort of I didn't know how I supported him because I knew he needed support, but I
You didn't know how.
I didn't know how. So bless him, he was sort of pushed aside to one side was while I was trying to figure out what to do myself.
So that day when he was laid to rest, I remember being at your house, and I remember thinking, this must have been. I've only met you recently
Yeah,
at that point, and it must have been one of your darkest days. When he was laid to rest, and when you realized when the the reality hit you that he's now never coming back. You'll never hear him cry for you, for milk, for a nappy change, for a cuddle. Can you describe that feeling?
that day he was laid to rest. Uh, Everything was it was I it was a process that I was obviously new to me, but it was something that as a Filipino in a different country is a different process. Because when someone dies back home, you take the body home
Mm-hmm.
and do
You
your
spend some time with him.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But with Noah, because it was a sudden death, he had to undergo coroner. We had to have the police come in and have a look.
Investigate.
Yeah, investigate, and you know, uh, it was all new. Somehow traumatic. I wouldn't say traumatic, but somehow
Compounded your grief.
yes, in a way. But like I said, when I realized that he was no longer there, it was it was a pain that I wouldn't wish on anyone else. It's something that even now I can't imagine. I sometimes ask myself, how how did I manage this? And what is it that made me go through it? Like see myself and my family through it. I I don't know. I just said if I'm down, at the lowest part of the pit, there's nowhere else but to go
So,
back up. So yeah.
which brings me to this question. I'm very interested in your answer. How do you get up after a grief so crippling that it shakes you to the core and makes you question everything you believe in? How do you get up after that?
You will eventually get up. You're like something that's been broken, but you take all the broken pieces back together and piece them back together. You are broken, forever broken, but you will still function. And you get the strength from knowing that you are able to pick up pieces and put them back together. And somehow you draw your strength from the fact that you know you can. And you just have to. There, for me, there was no other choice but
You
to
had
do
another
it.
son.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not just, you're right,
Yeah.
it wasn't just all about me. I
Mm-hmm.
had Nathan to make sure
It was
he
okay.
was looked after and that he was also grieving,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. It wasn't just me. And I think as a mom, you put yourself aside most of the time
Mm-hmm.
anyway. You put yourself aside and put your children first. But that's where you get your strength. It's where you draw your strength from.
And how long before did the process of healing start? The picking up the pieces, from loss to light and back again. You know, what were your coping and support systems that you had to use?
Well, I'm very lucky. I have a lot of people around me
Mm-hmm.
that are positive. I have faith, and that was I think the main thing that helped me tide myself through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but surrounding yourself with people that are, not necessarily happy all the time, but understanding of what you are going through and supportive of what you need to go through, it helped a lot at that time. My husband, we are very different. Um, I may be a bit more vocal about the things that have happened. He is somehow, he keeps to himself and quite reserved, yes. But because of that, we drew strength from each other and supported each other somehow in a very weird way where still he wouldn't go and visit Noah where we laid him to rest.
He wouldn't.
He wouldn't unless I tell him to.
Okay.
Um, whereas I would, and I did every day for years.
Yeah.
Um, uh, and that in that way where we are different, we complemented each other. Because when someone else is on the extreme, someone else can pull that other person back.
Yeah. Well said.
So yeah,
I also know that one of the things that you did to help you through this was you got yourself a black Labrador, Job.
he was a golden
Was he a
Labrador.
gold?
Yes,
Why
Job.
did I have a memory of him? Yeah, he's a golden like Jude.
Yes, like
Okay.
Jude.
So you had him, and I know because you told me the reason why you had Job. Tell us what happened to him.
So basically, Job um, was a scapegoat. I hate to say the word,
No,
but
no.
he
Scapedog.
was. Yes, a scapegoat.
Mm-hmm.
Bless him. Um, Mainly for my husband. Uh, so I didn't have much say about taking in Job, but I somehow he came home and the dog was there already. So, um, but in a way, I can say that it benefited me more
Having the dog.
having the
Mm-hmm.
dog because uh, he would go to work and Nathan would go to school and it'll be just me and Job. And I would scream at Job to the top of my lungs. And yet, Job wouldn't mind. He would still be there. And it gave you that realization that, even though he's just a dog, someone will accept you for what you're going through,
It's kind of
for what you
conditional
are.
there, love. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm.
Something mums or parents have for
The
children.
children. Yeah. And they are part of your family.
Yeah.
So you had him for 2 years. What
Had it
happened to
for
him?
2 years. Unfortunately, have to lose him because we went on this day out to the beach and he was a very friendly dog. He would approach anyone, let alone anyone with the food in
Yep.
hand. Um, so there was obviously quite a few other Filipinos down the beach and they fed him some chicken, not knowing, not meaning any harm.
Yeah.
Um,
Chicken with bone.
a chicken with a bone. So unfortunately, he died of that.
He had a gut rupture.
Yeah,
And
like
you
a
found him.
rupture. Yeah.
Found him.
So the sad thing was Noah died on a Sunday night. Job died on a Sunday night too. When we found him dead as well, lifeless. And it sort of started the whole process all over again. Um, but this time, I think my husband took the harder blow because it was, the job was for him. It was his friend.
Baby.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
And we're still healing. We have this memory tree. We laid Job to rest in our garden under a memory tree.
Okay.
and where we have some little memento for Noah as well. So we call it a memory tree.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's beautiful.
Mm.
And so this period of intense grief, loss, and sadness, it changes you. You know, inevitably it changes someone, or at least your perspective, and your whole viewpoint on life and death and how feeble we are as human beings. And I know that in our line of work, we see, you know, life and death on a regular basis. And I also know that sometimes there are stories that are too close to the skin, too close to the heart, and it affects you. And you know, like I said, it changed you. What changed in you because of this intense, crippling grief?
Well, if you let grief cripple you, you will be.
Mm-hmm.
But I refuse to. And I try to take away as much as I can what is positive on what has happened to me and pass it on.
Mm-hmm.
That's my that's just me. So no matter how hard it is, no matter how negative it is, I I've been through so much that I said to myself, is there anything else that's worse than this? And to me, I would say no. And then therefore, uh, I just have to I just have to be the better person or the better situation.
Like you said, you've
Yeah.
hit rock bottom. There's no other way to go but up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, talking about moving up, let's talk about the present. So, now you have two children.
Yeah.
The eldest is now
I
off to
have three
university.
children,
Three
survived by two.
survived by two. Yeah. So, and you got a husband and a career that's on the up as well. By all intents and purposes, a solid traditional family. Moving on, healing. So, is there anything? So, you talked about the memory tree. Um, is there anything you do as a family to commemorate Noah?
It's mainly, is there anything I do as a mom and as a mother to my other two children?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Like I said, it'll be a difficult task to get my husband Ken to
To visit
to visit
the grave.
the
Yeah.
grave of Noah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's him. That's just him.
That's
And I have
that's how
to,
we go.
yes,
Yeah.
we cope differently. And if it works for him,
Mm-hmm.
so be it. But yes, we as a family, I've already said to my eldest, you know, that eventually, hopefully, I won't have to see any more of my children go before me. Um, that as the eldest, he's the one who has to be the caretaker, you know, maintain that grave and sort of thing. So I take them there. We, you know, we talk about him
Mm-hmm.
nearly every day. We talk about
Yeah.
Noah nearly every day. We look at photos. Nia, who obviously my youngest, who doesn't know of Noah, I feel like he knows him.
Through your stories.
Yes,
Mm.
yes. So
And that's a beautiful
he
thing to say.
remains very much
Alive in your
a
hearts.
part of
Mm.
the family. Yeah. So when we talk of him, I even feel like
He's
he
around.
hasn't really
Mm.
gone, and I think that's part help of how I have
Healed.
become me
Yeah.
now.
So he would have been what, 13 years old now?
Yes,
Yeah. Like you said, what would you say to him now if you can if he, you know, if he can hear you, if he's around, what would you say?
I do love him. I have loved him from the very beginning. I knew on first sight that he was different. That very first look you have as a mom,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that he was different, and he proved me very right. Um, I love him. I I I wouldn't change anything. that has happened because everything happens for a reason. And I thank him for that 384 beautiful rainbow filled days, we called it. And if I get to see him soon, I look forward to that day.
And lastly, what would you say to another parent who is probably going through the same thing, or someone who suffered loss? What would you say to them?
Everything happens for a reason. Losing someone will just make you realize how that thing or person means to you. But you don't necessarily have to go through the experience of losing that person or thing to realize it, or to make them feel how
Appreciate
much
it.
you love them or how much you need and appreciate them. Just grab every possible moment and do the best you can to make that person feel loved, appreciated, needed. Because you'll never know what's gonna happen around the corner.
That is so true. Again, we see it every day as
You
well.
see it every day.
We see it every day. Well, thank you very much, Jena. It was very
My
brave
pleasure.
of you to come and talk to us about it. And if you liked what you saw here and like what you hear, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much for watching and listening. And that concludes another episode for the series My Heart, Your Voice. Thank you very much, and we'll speak to you soon.